Okay, as I previously mentioned, Katelyn here was in the documentary called La Veille. This was a lot about Louisiana culture and all that, something she's passionate with. You got approached at that club in Mamou by Marshall Woodworth.
Yeah.
And after that, things just sparked. Please talk to us about that whole experience.
Well, Marshall spotted me on YouTube. That's how he recognized me. And he came up to me, and it's just amazing when those sort of things happen. He came up to me and told me he was working on this documentary, and it was so cool to meet me, and would I want to be part of the project? And I was like, absolutely. Anything to support the heritage and Louisiana culture and fortifying it. So Marshall's is a very creative person and a very vicarious. He's a very creative person. And I think that really shone through in La Veille. There was I found a bit of a comedy in it. I really like the way that he tied everything together. He went generationally with the older fella at the beginning of the movie. And then me, I was like sort of in between. I hadn't gone to Sainte-Anne yet, but I was on my path to discovering that French language in me. And then he also included a person that was sort of also in my age range, but who was fluent in it, who's a friend of mine, Jordan Thibodeau. And actually I'm going to see him play later tonight at Blue Moon. So I think it was really cool how he had with people at different stages of French in their life, and he presented that really well in La Veille, and I was really happy to be a part of it. Really glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I loved that documentary. I thought it was very well presented and all that. Really, it was to summarize the culture in a nutshell, I think. It wasn't too descriptive, but that's what I appreciated about it, because it was done in a way, if someone knew nothing about Louisiana heritage or Louisiana French, they learned something. That's what I liked about it. For sure. So like I mentioned, Katelyn went to the French Immersion program at the University of Sainte-Anne. I'm eager to know these experiences. You drove from Mamou to Church Point, Nova Scotia, that's correct?
I did.
That was quite a drive. When you reach Connecticut there, it's quite a mission if you're on the 95.
Connecticut was interesting. It really stands out in my mind, Connecticut. There were some interesting things because I drove through there late at night, and it was really hard to find a hotel, motel, and I saw some really interesting people, the places that I went when I stopped in Connecticut. Yeah.
Okay. And you know something? You went to Sainte-Anne, so you had some experiences there. I'm sure you have some experiences that you would cherish for the rest of your life. Go. What you got to say?
Yeah. It's something that I had always heard about. It was like part of the lore of, along with that French language in Louisiana, it was always like, oh, our cousins to the north, there's this university there, St. Anne's, and everyone who was anyone with French in Lafayette or Louisiana, South Louisiana, had like been to St. Anne. So the opportunity just like presented itself to me, or rather I made the opportunity present itself to me and I found a way to do it. I was working at the time full time, still am working that same job. I have the ability to work remotely from computer, so I was able to take my work with me there. I was off of work for 2 weeks, but I had to start working again after the 2 weeks. So 3 of the weeks while I was in French immersion up there, I was still working 40 hours a week. So it was majorly taxing on me, but I had the desire and the passion to put my all into it. Really, like I poured out so much of my heart and soul into that experience. I really wish I would have had a lot of more time, free time, to enjoy the things like walking on the beach and going out late at night and looking at the sky, which the sky over there just blows my mind. it always felt like I was in a snow globe. Like I could just poke the sky. It always felt that close to me. It's just beautiful there. I would go to is it Meat Cove? Not Meat Cove. That's in a
Bear Cove. Smuggler's Cove.
Smuggler's Cove, yes. Smuggler's Cove. I'd go out there when I had free time and just like sit and just watch the water and watch the sky change. And Peggys Cove too. Peggys Cove, I believe it was. That it was where the lighthouse was, not far from Sainte-Anne.
Yeah, Peggys Cove, that's towards the South Shore. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
It's not far from Sainte-Anne, and there's a massive cliff. There's just a massive cliff and a lighthouse.
I should know what that is. Anyway.
It's really not far from there, but I would go there because it was pretty close. So I'd go there and watch the sunset, and it just always like blew my mind, that massive cliff there, and it and the ocean, just like the water hitting the shore. One time I was sitting out there and the sun was going down, and I was out there by myself, and I had this feeling that something was watching me, and I turned around and there was a deer like 2 feet from me. It had snuck up on me. It scared the living daylights out of me. It ran off when I turned around. But after that, I would go out there with a bat, because since I drove my car up there, I had a bat, an aluminum bat with me. So I would walk out with a bat just in case, just in case I ran into anything nefarious. But yeah, those are some memories, going out to those cliffs. Yeah, I'll always remember that. Yeah. And just the friends too that I made there. There were a lot of younger people there, a lot of younger Canadians that were doing the class as a part of their coursework for like college. But I made a lot of good friends there, a lot of good connections, and it's a bonding experience. You're up there not able to speak English after the first date, and you kind of just look at each other. I started out as debutante, so me and a bunch of other debutantes, we just look at each other and just kind of try to do sign language for a long time, for a good while. I'd say a week and a half, so we could actually drag out conversations a little bit more.
Yeah, and of course, like it's one of those things. Like, I don't know. Here's just a random question, totally random. I just have to ask you, since you're here, you've driven to Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and all those spots, and I don't know. I've been to Maine and New Hampshire, and I'm so impressed how they're set up with tourism and all that. Would you say Nova Scotia is comparable
to as far as
tourism, beauty, and all that?
Oh God, yeah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful in Nova Scotia. I drove also through New Brunswick. I drove up to Cap Breton also, and came down and went to Fredericton. Is it Fredericton or Fredericton? Yeah, New Brunswick. Spent some time there. Went to Quebec, Ville de Quebec. Loved it there. But it's just so it's beautiful in Nova Scotia, in the Bay. The ocean, just, I have an affinity for water and the ocean, and maybe that's because I was raised in a prairie where we didn't have a whole lot of water besides some bayous, and then I wasn't even really familiar with bayous. But that Atlantic Ocean is just wild. It's definitely comparable. If you say comparable to Maine and Massachusetts, it's probably not even on the same bar. I think it's grander, just because everything seems so much more spaced out. I guess they're more rural in Canada, or at least in that part of Canada. It's a lot more wild. Everything's bigger there. Trees, cliffs, the ocean.
Yeah.
The rocks.
Yeah, the rocks, of course. Yeah, it's funny because, you talked about the ocean and all that. This is just a personal thing of mine. I've been to exotic locations before. Uh, for example, Veradero Beach in Cuba is just unreal. And I mean, you could, like, White Sand Beach, like, I've been to South Beach in Miami. I've been to Punta Cana in Dominican Republic. The beaches there are absolutely gorgeous. The ocean, you can go in the ocean. I mean, I've been to Punta Cana in June, and you go in the ocean for a swim and you come back, you don't even need a towel. It's crazy. It's so hot. And the funny thing is, I went to a trip there once. I don't know. I think it was '08. I went there with a few of my buddies. I was a 24-year-old kid. And I came back. I took a walk. Actually, I took a walk at Sainte-Anne's, where you're familiar with, right? And I saw the ocean. And there's something that just hit me about that ocean. Just hit me. Just the small waves and all that. And there was just something mesmerizing about it. And I've just seen waves that a surfer would dream of, white sand and sun, not to mention all the free booze we had when we were 24. But I come back as a 24-year-old kid with no wisdom, a 24-year-old kid that was lost in the world, and I saw that ocean, all those small waves, and I was just mesmerized, and I said to myself, this is something else, Just saying.
It's home.
It was home. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You just said it. Must have been rewarding to finally speak to your parents and grandparents in French.
Yeah. So in La Baie, there was included a little clip of me talking to my dad, and it was. I feel like when I was talking to him, like I was on crutches almost, because I think that was in the third week that we were in the program at Sainte-Anne, and so we sort of feel at that point like we have some sort of standing on our French. Okay, I can go have a conversation with my dad, because I have a conversation with my friend here in French. But when I got with him on the phone, it's like, well, his level is different. He has a higher level of French and he just spoke normally how he would speak to like his parents. He didn't slow down. He used words like that I wasn't familiar with. So it's almost like it humbled me back down to, I was at that third week. I had some confidence about my ability to speak at that point. And then I went and talked to my dad, and it's just like, nope, you got more to learn. You got more to learn. So it sort of felt like being on crutches. Like it was a good humbling realization that I had at the moment. Like I have more work to do. And even after I leave here, I have more work to do, because when I go back home and speak to them, they'll construct things differently. So then my mind needs to adapt to that. So that's what my mindset was whenever I talked to my dad on the phone. After getting off the phone with him, those are things that I thought about.
Yeah, of course. It's one of those things, like those immersion kids, you have to speak to them in academic French, more or less. Then when we're there and they speak to us, like we have to speak to them in that language. And out of respect, I do that because they're there to learn French,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been to the Chateau during immersion time when the radio plays,
So many good experiences at the Chateau. Au Chateau.
Yep. Yeah, I've had, when I was 19, I had a few good experiences.
Yep. My dorm was the one right in front of the cafeteria. So I was really close to Chateau.
What's the name of that dorm again?
Don't remember. I don't remember.
I know which one you're talking about. It's just I forgot the name. I've been into that dorm before, actually. Yeah.
I don't remember.
So,
but good times at the I really enjoyed on those Friday nights, I think they were, or Saturday nights, the events that they would have. And
yeah,
it really does help to learn the language. It really does lower the inhibition, like the inhibitions or the embarrassment that someone could have attached to am I saying this right? It really did help. It was a social lubricant for sure. It helped a lot.
And I have to ask you, do you have any linguistic insecurity with French? Like, I know you seem pretty secure with it, but is there like sometimes like you ask yourself like, oh my god, like I don't want to screw up or something like that?
Yeah, I still do, especially since I haven't I haven't been in practice with it in the past, in the recent couple years, because my mind's been kind of like focused on some other things that are sort of happening in my life, just moving into a different period of my life, um going into 30s, and just like other things that come with age, that you sort of like early midlife crisis stuff, but in a good way, in a good way. um so that sort of thing kind of has gone on the back burner for now. But the French, and having that top of mind to learn. But so I do still have like insecurity about it, but also it's yes and no, because I'm a person that can also, while I might feel that way, immediately sort of put it in the back of my mind and be like, okay, the ultimate way to learn is to practice with people. And because of having that experience at St. Anne's, I know that how how much of a linchpin embarrassment can hold you back from speaking in it. So St. Anne really broke something there, where I would have like an embarrassment maybe. So if that does come up in me, if some of my friends are speaking French, if that does come up in me, well, I want to say something in French, but I don't quite know how to say it. Or if I say it wrong, I might look dumb. I can kind of immediately put that in the back of my mind, because I had that experience at St. Anne, and I know what it takes to, you just got to talk. You just got to practice. You just
Yeah.
got to put you out there and do it. So I think that's something that'll never leave me. That's something that got instilled in me at St. Anne's.
Like the French tables in Lafayette, like I know we have COVID and all that, but I do know there's some people who do virtual French tables and all that. Is that something that you've done quite a bit? Like obviously you have different things in your life right now, but even at that, is that something that you do occasionally?
I haven't done it recently since things have come back from COVID. So it's probably 2 years since I've attended one, but they have started up. They have started back up. And actually they were having a big one today, because festival Acadie and Creole's going on. So they were doing one today. But they do them pretty frequently. They do hold them pretty frequently now.
Yeah,
Now
good.
that we from from the COVID madness.
So is there like one thing you miss about La Baie Sainte-Marie or Nova Scotia?
Hmm. Really, the nature there. I'm a real nature lover, and I just love the landscape there. The sky, the night sky. I'm one of those people that just goes outside at night and stares at the moon, and I loved doing that there. Like I said, the sky at night reminded me of it made me feel like I was in a snow globe, and like I could just touch the sky, and it would fall like on a movie set or something. I think it was because the sky looked different there. It was a different star formation than I'm used to seeing. But just the just the nature there, just being near the water, that feeling of being near the water. The dorm I was in, that I don't remember the name, but it was right in front of the cafeteria, and my room was facing the bay. So y'all don't have really air conditioners there. So that was something I had to get used to. So I'd keep the window open at night, and the breeze would come in. That's a really fond memory that I have. Just the smell of the air and how foggy it was at that point. Whenever I was there in March. No, May. May to June. And it felt like early spring would to me. It was cold there. It was still cold, really cold. But just feeling that breeze come in from the water, that I miss that. I miss that. And the smell of the air. That's salty.
I was about to talk about that smell. Yeah, it's something else. And there's one thing I'm sure you saw, or maybe you just saw a little of. I'm really curious to know, as an outsider, how you would describe the patriotism of the Acadians.
Very strong. That's the sense that I got. People were very, very, very proud of being Acadian there. I saw flags in a lot of places, and the stars on people's houses. That has a connect. That's a Acadian connection. Maybe you can explain to me what that star symbolizes. But I saw it on a lot of people's houses around Clare and Nova and the Bay.
That would probably be our flag.
Just the star itself. It was just like a metal star that was on a house.
Yeah.
On houses.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's something to do with our flag. Like the star in our flag. Like just like my logo for my podcast, it's a star.
Right. Yeah, I saw that on a lot of houses. That's something I noticed a lot of. So the sense that I got were people were really proud of their heritage, or proud of where they were, where they came from.
Cool. Yeah, I was really curious to know. And I'm wondering, one other thing I'm wondering, your experience here at Baie Sainte-Marie and at Sainte-Anne, or perhaps maybe another Acadian region that you saw, do you think that had an effect in the Acadian presence or influence or history, if you will, in Louisiana? Did it change your view?
I don't think it fortified, I guess, my view. It really, when I came back here, it really made a line of delineation for me of wow, like we have really got some work to do here in Louisiana as far as walking the walk and talking the talk when it comes to like language, because if we're talking about language, that's the predominating subject here. It made me come back here and really say to myself, like, yeah, I've always known like that this language, this French learning thing is something that's important to us, but we can do it. We can do it because it's happening in Nova Scotia. It's happening in Canada. It made me really, really get that sense of like, we have got to do some deep work here with fortifying people's passion to want to learn French, like being an inspiration to people. And that sort of goes into like Tele Louisiane, our collective of people that we have that or share the same kind of passion that I do about the culture, about the language, not just preserving it, but let's work in French. Let's create jobs in French in Louisiana. Let's just not talk about it or just have it in the tourism industry. Let's have it be part of our everyday culture, pop culture, you know. That Tele Louisiane happened after I came down from Nova Scotia. So it was a really timely thing to find other people that wanted to do the same sorts of things, that were knowledgeable about other things that I didn't know about. One of our people, Will McGrew, he's really involved in like the politics and the law side of things. And then we have Drake LeBlanc. He does a lot of the media, a lot of the film, and he was a French Immersion student. So coming back and like finding those people here was really nice to find once I came back from having that experience. But to sum up answering your question, going kind of long-winded with it, it really made me see like we need to do work here. We need to do real work if we want French in Louisiana and not just have it as something that's going to draw tourists here. Or if it draws tourists, we need to be able to speak to the tourists in French. If we're gonna have that as part of the draw to come here.
So like what I see in l'Acadie with my age group is that I shouldn't say fear, but I think there's a concern about preserving the French language. There's some issues, or I should say some défis, right? I mean, obviously my generation, it's not like our parents' generation where there were more kids, you know? And I mean, here in Canada, I mean, there's going to be more immigrants coming in, you know? And I think one thing that my generation is more prepared for, and I apologize if I strike some nerves, I don't think I will, is that we're more accustomed to standard French, our generation, than my parents' generation.
Okay,
right?
that makes sense.
Yeah, we went to school, we did our schooling in standard French, or we are more familiar with standard French. There's some Acadians here who do their schooling in English, the high school English, where I don't know if you've ever seen it. That's in St. Bernard. And, but yeah, we are more familiar with it, you know, and it comes back to linguistic insecurity. And there's a lot more variables and all that. You know something, I'll leave it like that. The culture isn't going anywhere. And we got to play the cards. If we got 2-7 offsuit or pocket aces, we got to play the card whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know what I can't predict what's going to happen in the future, but I can tell you there's concerns, but the culture isn't going anywhere. I'm sorry. Look at Louisiana. They did everything to kill them, to kill the culture. They didn't kill it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, some people will say, and some elders will say, like, the language isn't the important part, is the culture that's important. But like all those things, like traditions and family and cooking and remembering the origins. But I don't know, I think there's something really important about having that native tongue as a reminder of the origin, because what's to say 3 generations from now, they need to know. So either like they need to know the language, or they need to have each generation before them instill the importance of their culture in them. And that's probably just not going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen as much as we would like, I think, because the world's becoming more globalized and we're becoming more Americanized here. Everything's becoming a lot more generic. The world's becoming a smaller place, and due to social media, and more people are connected, so more cultures are crossing barriers. But I think it's important to hang on to the language, as much as you can, because once that break occurs, like we've seen here, it feels so hard to bring it back.
Yeah.
Across the board, you know, in large numbers.
Yeah, I get you. You know, there's a lot of variables. Like, there's even some theories that in 2050, French might be the most spoken language in the world. You know, there's theories about that, you know. I mean, but, you know, there's one thing I've learned about life. You can't predict what's going to happen in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now, and how things are going to play out. So enjoy the time while you can and how things are going to evolve. I say evolve, not die, evolve. Mm-hmm. You will see what happens. And you're going to have some cards you have to play with, and you have to figure out what's going to happen at that time. You just don't know. Like, there's so many things. Like, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's not easy.
Yeah. But then also at the same time, it's just part of being a human. It's just part of being like a part of a society and culture. It's always going to change. It always has changed. You use that word evolve, not die. We're just going to morph into something else. Like we always will. As long as we're organisms, we're going to keep evolving. And that's the point. That's the point of life, right?
Yeah, exactly. I can't say it any better. Okay, Katelyn, we're going to play word association like I do to every other person that I have on my podcast.
Hope I don't go blank.
So we will be North American, global, and we have some items. Okay, first thing that pops in your head when I say a word, just repeat it. Okay. Number 1, Metagan.
Metagan. Like Metagan. I just want to say like Metagan, like the accent. That's actually a word that I say often. Metagan, because when anyone brings it up, I say it like that. Metagan, because that's how I've heard it pronounced.
Okay, we're talking about the village here in Metagan.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, right on. Yeah. Number 2, Texas.
Snake.
Rattlesnakes. Number 3, Italy.
Sicily.
Number 4, a keyboard.
Piano.
That is a digital piano. Okay. Number 5, National Hockey League.
Teeth.
Not as back in the day. You watch some of those players who used to play for the Habs there, the Canadians, Montreal Canadiens, yeah. Modesty Shaw, Pocket Rocket, Jean Béliveau, who used to come to Clare very often. He actually was friends with a big-time doctor in Montreal who was originally from the Baie Sainte-Marie.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 6, Quebec.
Ville de Quebec.
That is a very lovely spot. I've been there.
I love it.
Number 7, Poutine.
Cheese.
Absolutely. Number 8, cousins.
Family.
Number 9, sanitary wipes.
Butt wipes. Butt wipes.
Oh, okay. And number 10, l'Acadie.
Creole.
Okay. Okay, Katelyn, I've got the old Acadian word of the day.
Okay.
Would you know what is an armoire? Armoire.
Oh yeah, that's something that you keep your clothes in, like a dresser. We'd call it a dresser.
You guys call it dresser. For us, in English, we would say a cupboard. Cupboard.
Covered, okay.
In Français, we would say a placard.
Placard.
So yeah, armoire, that's an armoire here. I'm surprised you knew that word.
My dad, that's a word that we use. That's what my dad says for his dresser. It's sort of like the top portion of it has 2 doors on it, and then the lower portion has 2 drawers or a couple drawers at the bottom. And I think that's specifically what he refers to as an armoire. So it wouldn't be a dresser that has like big drawer here, big drawer here, big drawer here. I think specifically to him, it's the one that has the doors on it, and then it has the drawers at the bottom. Is that what it is to y'all?
Well, it would be us, as far as I know, it's strictly a cupboard, right? So where we store our dishes, glasses, and all that. That's a word that, as far as I know, is still used. My generation, anyways. I don't know about these younger kids and all that, but anyways. So go ahead, Katelyn.
I'll have to ask my dad if he uses that term to refer to the cabinet.
It'd be interesting to know, actually. Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down.
Cool. Okay. Merci tout le monde. Et à la prochaine. Thanks for listening.